Hey everybody, this is Sean. Just wanted to give you a heads up. It's kind of a long video, but I cover a lot of steps. This video should show you how to put some heat back in your vehicle, and it's very thorough, and it's coming up next. I hope you enjoy. And got the temperature on heat, full fan panel, and I don't have any warmth whatsoever coming out of there. So I'm going to walk you through the diagnosis here. So, first thing I did was I checked the coolant level, and the coolant level was a little bit low. So I topped that off, and I also topped off this, watch your finger right there if it's running, but I topped off this jug. So now that jug's full. We got it up to max. I got the fluid topped off, and I just need to bring this thing up to operating temperature and see if we can get some heat out of the vents. Hopefully it's something simple. Coolant is the first thing you want to check. Without any coolant, the heater can't work because it has to have hot coolant flowing through it to blow that heat into the cabin of the car. So step one, check your coolant level. We did that, topped it off. Step two, we're going to check. You can just use your fingers or your hand to see what the temperature is basically, but we'll use this just to get a visual for the video to see what kind of temperature is actually coming out of these vents. So you can see that temperature is kind of coming up right there. When it should be somewhere in the middle. It looks like it's getting close, but right now with the heat setting all the way on hot, which is this little red indicator, so all the way on hot and then all the way on high, and then I have it on panel so that I can just stick my arm in the window real quick and check the heat periodically as this thing warms up. So temperature wise, this vent, I don't know what room temperature is, but that's a little higher than room temperature probably. I guess it kind of feels like 85, I guess. It doesn't feel very warm at all. It's like 2 stages less than lukewarm. If 10 was hot and 1 was cold, I'd say this is a 5 or a 6. 84, 83, whatever. So it's basically room temperature air. It just feels like a fan is on. So there's our temp gauge. We'll just keep watching that as it climbs. So as this is running, I guess I'll show you kind of what I got going on here. It's just in the garage, and I just have like a tube going out the door here so I can run it. Just kind of a quick deal. Just kind of goes on, pretty simple. Just goes out the door. We can run this thing as long as we need to, which is good because sometimes this just takes a while. You don't want to be in a rush. And it's easier to work inside than it is outside on a heating problem when it's cold out. So I'd say that kind of stabilized pretty well right there. It might come up a little more, but this low miles. It's been a good car. But like we say, it's having some heating issues, so let's check this again. A little colder. Do center temperature. So maybe the center temp here is the one to go off of. Let's just check over here too. So that one's cooler. So the center is a little warmer. All right, well I'd say that's up to operating temperature. So now what we're going to do is we want to see if the heater core inside the vehicle actually has heat supplied from the engine. So let's check our heater hoses on the firewall, what kind of temperature the engine's producing. Hopefully it's It's usually easier if there's temperature, at least to that point. So the first thing I like to do, so your heater is basically right there is one fitting that with the clamp on it. That fitting is going into the heater core. There's a fitting, it's like a 1/2 inch or 5/8 or 3/4 hose, and then there's another one right below it. So there's two hoses that are right there. So there's your two hoses. So next thing I like to do, once we've located them, the next thing you want to do is grab a hold of them. And that's got pretty good temperature on it. That's sufficient heat just by feel where it should be working. And it's definitely a little cooler than the other heater. And there's a little box here. There's your hose. That one's a little cooler than this one. This back one, I believe, has a cable to it. So there's some sort of control cable coming from the heater box that goes right inside the cabin there. So those hoses right there are definitely hotter. Let's get an idea here. So 142, let's say. And then this hose over here is a supply hose. More of a supply hose. 158. So 159. So that one's almost 160, and that makes sense. 157, and then this is the hose coming back out of the core, 140. So this could be a blocked heater core. It's definitely a possibility. That's what will happen when your heater core is blocked, is you'll have a temperature difference. But the thing I'm concerned about is that right there with that cable. That cable is an on-off switch to allow the flow of coolant through that heater hose. That's like a gate valve, you know, in plumbing or gas line. That's like a gate valve that turns that fluid flow on or off. So I'm not exactly sure how that works, but somehow that is turned on and off by the heater. So let's check our vents one more time here before we go to step 2. 87, 89, yeah, so it came up a little bit. It still feels lukewarm. Yeah, these are a little warmer, but they're lukewarm. They're not hot, and that will never heat the car ever. 90 degrees, I mean, it might be enough to defrost the windows in the dead of winter if you leave the car run for an hour, but that's not going to be sufficient to keep anybody warm in the car. So okay, so it looks like we're up to temp. That looks good. That's sufficient. So let's check this heater. Let's do an internal computer check on this heater. So what you do, this is kind of going to be hard for me to do here. So what you want to do here is you want to hold this recirc button and this defrost button, both those buttons. I'm holding two buttons, and then you want to turn your key to the on position and then let go, and this should do this will do an automatic heater test for this control head and test the electronic actuators. Do a self-test on the actuators and the blower motors, the blend door, the defrost door, panel door, mode door they call it, and the blend door. So all right, it's done. So this is a code. We have to count those flashes. and the brake is the stop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9. So it's got a code 9. So you can turn our blower motor off. So it's got a code 9, and now it's stopped flashing. So the system's ready to operate again, but it's recognized there's a code 9 in there somewhere, so we need to figure out what code 9 is. So I found a diagram for elements, and it says number 9 is a problem in the air mix control linkage, door, or motor. So let's go check that out. So basically, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the blend door. I'm going to change the temperature on the car, start it up, turn the temperature from hot to cold, and see if that lever is even attempting to move. So let's do this. Start it up. So I'm going to somehow simultaneously reach up and grab that temperature knob. There, we got a good look at it. So there's the blend door motor. It's right above that gas pedal. It's quite hard to see and reach, but it is doable. So there it is. Let's see if it moves. Okay, I'm turning the blend door motor now. 1, 2, 3, here we go, and it's moving. Okay, so there's some gears there. There's a lever there, back and forth. It's obviously not moving far enough. Obviously the motor works. Could be a weak motor, could be a defective door, like maybe the door broke inside. I've seen the actuator centerpiece where it hooks on break, and you got to replace a lot of door parts. So it could be that. It could be that cable seized, but I don't think so because it's moving. And it could be that flapper valve on the heater hose in the engine bay. It could be that flapper valve is seized up for some reason too. So that's all the way cold. That's all the way hot as far as the lever will go. I'm gonna see if I can move this with my hand and just give it a little bit of an assistance. Oh, I moved it. All right. So I moved it quite a bit. Let's see if it goes back to. Let's see if it goes back to cold. Here's cold. All right. So there's a full swing on that cable, door, everything. Let's go back to hot. There's cold. There's hot. There's cold. There's hot. So there might be an obstruction. I'm thinking it's the motor's a little bit weak, or it's the flapper valve out under the engine, because it doesn't feel like an obstruction. It just feels like it's weak and not pushing it. So let's try to assist this thing one more time just to get some heat in the car for right now. All right. Let's try the heat. Let's see what happens with the heat. I'm gonna grab my gun here. Alright. Alright, fan on. Oh yeah, right away. That right there will do the trick. That's good heat. Nothing wrong with that. So from a temperature standpoint, it was what, 89, 90. So now it's 115, 20, 25, 30. So it's climbing. This is perfectly acceptable heat right here. And it should get right up to close to that 150 mark, or that 160 mark. A according to what that supply hose was underneath the engine when we tested it. So yeah, it's climbing right up there. I don't know what the thermostat's set at on this, but typically they're set at 190 to 205, in that range. This is definitely 160 for sure. Or more. So that's really good. That could be the magic pill for this thing temporarily. We definitely need to fix it though. I don't know if the actuator's bad or the flapper valve's bad. Kind of just by the sounds of that actuator, it had kind of a weak noise to it, so I think I'm going to try that actuator first. It looks like it's just a couple of bolts down there and one connector, a couple of screws and one connector. The outside panel temps are always going to be a little bit lower. Sometimes it's detectable, sometimes it's not. If you leave this run long enough, it'll heat up, the air will heat up the ductwork inside the vehicle, and eventually it should be pretty close to the center. But the center will initially be a little bit warmer just because it's closer to the source inside the heater core, which is inside the heater box inside the vehicle. So 160, that feels hot. I mean, that tingles your fingertips a little bit. That's definitely hot enough to heat the vehicle, and that's the proper temp. I don't think we're going to need to. We don't have any actual heater core problem. We just have a electrical problem at that blend door, would be my suspicion. And if that don't fix it, that flapper motor out underneath the engine should. So I did some research on the interwebs, and apparently there's some gears. That big gear right there needs some lubrication. Apparently that gear right there, that's part of the problem. So we're gonna put some lubrication on there. I don't know if that'll fix it or not, but we at least got some temporary heat. And if that doesn't do it, we're gonna replace that actuator with the green connector up there. Okay, I got some lubrication. I usually use this for hinges and latches and stuff. It tends to stay lubey or greasy or fluid. It doesn't evaporate like WD-40 or something like that. So this is kind of like a sprayable grease. It doesn't really, it's not really I mean, it says it penetrates, but I don't know if it really penetrates, but it's an excellent lubricant, like assembly lube or general purpose lube that you don't want to evaporate like WD-40, which is a good lube for certain things, but if you're worried about evaporation, it's really not that great. So we'll put a little I guess I put a lot on there, but I kind of found a camera angle here. So that gear is basically it's right there. I don't know if that did the trick. Let's turn the key on and let's see if by some magic trick lubing that gear did it. Here we go. Hot to cold. Well, holy cripe. Oh no, that's the way it likes to go. Hot to cold is okay. I thought maybe we fixed it. That would have been cool. So not really fixed there. Let me turn off the heat. Maybe you can hear this motor. Alright, so there's the microphone. We got the microphone cable up there. You can see the microphone right there. So here's the motor going from hot to cold. See if you can hear it. It's just not much going on there. Just kind of sounds weak, doesn't it? Okay, let's go back to cold. Something's just not quite jiving. Get this phone up there far enough to get a part number off that motor. Alright, so there's the part number of the motor that I'm going to use to order the parts. Using my phone here. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool, actually. I've never done that before. So, looks like I'm going to order this motor. Put those, take that screw off, maybe the other screw over here, a couple screws. Disconnect that connector, that green connector, and we'll see what we got. So I'm going to isolate this heater valve and try to determine if it's a problem or not. I'm going to do that by popping this. This is the cable, and it actually just slides. There's nothing that captures it. It just slides up and off. So you can actually just stick your finger under there and slide it up. But I'm going to try to use this tool so that you can see what I'm talking about. I really can't see what I'm doing on here. It's kind of a feel thing, but you can see that that's that lever on the heater core. It just pops right up. And it pops right off. It just flops to the side there. So now we can take this lever and slide it. And that moves just fine. I mean, it's got some resistance, but it's not, I don't think it's excessive. So we're gonna do an electric blend door motor on this one. You can see that cable goes basically to this flapper valve, and then that blend door actuates not only the flapper valve via cable, but also the blend door with those gears and lever. So there you go. What, baby? Sorry, I'm getting interrupted by headquarters. Headquarters is more important than cars, so. Hi, babe. Hi. You want a kiss? Hey Honda fans, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're new, please consider doing so. And I hope that video helped you out. I also have another Honda video on how to reset your maintenance required light. So if you're looking for any information on that, I'm gonna put that video right here. I hope you guys have a great day and take care.